Why would a narcissist pick another narcissist? Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. I'm often asked, H.G., I can see that there are two narcissists together here. Why have they chosen one another? Why would they do that, given the fact that the narcissist is only going to cause problems for the other narcissist? Why didn't they go after an empath instead? Well, first of all, it's important to recognize that a narcissist can have the prime aims fulfilled from any classification of person. The prime aims are the fundamental things that the narcissist, either consciously or more usually subconsciously, pursues. That is to state that all individuals that we see as appliances must be controlled. That appliances must be brought under control and kept under control. That where an appliance threatens control, that threat must be nullified. And we do so through the three assertions of control. We seek to draw fuel from the relevant individual, from the relevant appliance, and obtain character traits and residual benefits. We may not take all four from every single person that we're involved with, and the individual, where we have an intimate partner primary source, is expected to cater to all four aspects. The empath is there to be controlled, to provide fuel. They can provide character traits and residual benefits. But so can a normal person, so can a narcissistic person who's not a narcissist, and so can a narcissist. A narcissist can be controlled. The extent of that control may vary, the duration of that control may vary, and of course it depends upon the individual doing the controlling as to how controlled they are. But control can be asserted over a narcissist. It is not permanent, of course, unless the narcissists themselves require that. A narcissist provides fuel because a narcissist will have an emotional response. The narcissist may express praise, positive fuel. The narcissist may get upset and cry, negative fuel. The narcissist may show their own heated, ignited fury, negative fuel. The narcissist will have character traits. Those can be taken by another narcissist. The narcissist will also have certain residual benefits which may appeal to another narcissist. And thus, narcissists do ensnare other narcissists, and do so within a business environment, with friendships. They do so with regard to familial relationships, neighbours, and also within sexual and intimate relationships. Here, I'm going to focus on why a narcissist would select another narcissist within the context of an intimate relationship. Examples of that include King Charles and Queen Camilla, Bill and Hillary Clinton, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. Why, though, would that narcissist pick another narcissist? Why not just settle on an empath, which is easier to control by virtue of the addiction that they have to the narcissist? Why not go for them? Because they're more likely to fountain with fuel. Well, unaware narcissists can pick another unaware narcissist, and this does occur, and I've explained certain combinations of how that occurs in the two When Narcissists Collide videos. So I would invite you to watch those videos to understand more about the dynamic between two unaware narcissists and what goes on there. But what about an aware narcissist, a greater narcissist? Why would they positively choose another narcissist to ensnare in an intimate scenario? First of all, it's important to understand that the greater knows that they are ensnaring another narcissist. They're not blind to it. They recognize, or at least ought to recognize, that they're dealing with another narcissist, and in the concept, within the context rather of an intimate relationship, the greater narcissist knows that he or she is getting into bed with another narcissist, albeit an unaware one. They recognize the behaviors. They know that is what they are ensnaring and still choose to proceed with that. Why do so? Well, naturally, it's about the prime aims. Fuel, it's important, but remember the fuel output of that unaware narcissist is not as important to the greater as it might be to a mid-range or a lesser narcissist. Why? The greater narcissist has a more extensive fuel matrix and is more capable at obtaining fuel from people. Fuel remains an important aspect of why that person has been selected. After all, they're not going to choose somebody that's like a block of stone and doesn't provide any emotional output. But it isn't as important to the greater as it to come from that one person as it would be, say, to the lesser or mid-range narcissist. To understand more about this, I'd encourage you to go to the Knowledge Vault and obtain Understanding the Fuel Matrix and Understanding Changes to the Fuel Matrix. There's pipelines and Understanding Changes to the Fuel Matrix. Briefly, a lesser narcissist's fuel needs might be met 80-90% by that intimate partner primary source. With a mid-ranger, it may be in the region of 70%. With a greater, it could be around 40 to 50%. So still important in a singular context, but there are plenty of other people the greater can get the fuel from. Therefore, the amount of fuel provided by the intimate partner primary source of a greater isn't of paramount importance compared to that of the mid-range or lesser narcissist. Therefore, if they select a narcissist who isn't as likely to pour with fuel compared to an empath, that isn't of such consequence. What about the issue of control? Well, a narcissist is going to be more difficult to control compared to an empath. That is clear. The empath has the addiction. They're affected by their emotional thinking. The main reason that narcissists go after empaths, and yes, they do exist, is because they're easier to ensnare and easier to keep ensnared, which appeals to your lazier lessers and, of course, your mealy-mouthed, cowardly mid-rangers. But when it comes to the greater, the issue of the ability to control isn't such an issue compared to that as a lesser or mid-range narcissist. First of all, the greater has a far more extensive manipulative repertoire to utilize. And also, remember that as a greater, they're going to have lots of shiny trinkets which would prove attractive to an unaware narcissist. The greater is likely to be wealthy, have an impressive property or properties. They will be very well connected. They are likely to be well known, either internationally famous or well known within a particular field. They have a certain reach. All of those things prove entirely compelling to an unaware narcissist. For them, there is the residual benefit of money, contacts, living in a huge house, having people running around after them, the kudos of being with somebody that's well known. Thus, that all makes controlling that narcissist far easier. Ordinarily, an empathic individual doesn't have such advantages of that extensive manipulative repertoire and the other factors that I've mentioned, meaning it is far more difficult for an empath to try and control a narcissist. And as you know from my work, I explain that you ought not to do so because you're invariably doomed to failure. A greater narcissist is set up in a way that they are more likely to be able to control an unaware narcissist. Of course, there remains potential for problems, but even if so, and that unaware narcissist becomes ungovernable, then the greater will just disengage from them and find somebody else, and they're able to do so because of their extensive connections. But also, the hole that's created by the jettisoning of that individual is not as extensive as it would be in the case of a lesser or a mid-range narcissist. Thus, there's less risk, if you will, for a greater to take on a narcissist as that intimate partner primary source compared to if a mid-ranger or a lesser narcissist did so. With regard to character traits, there's a good chance that these may actually be superior. Certain unaware narcissists may well be fairly successful in their own right, extensively travelled, educated, etc., and therefore may have a number of character traits which would prove attractive to the greater compared to others. But moreover, even if they don't, that's not as a great concern to the greater narcissist because, of course, with a far more extensive fuel matrix and their own inherent abilities, the issue of the acquisition of character traits from that intimate partner primary source, again, is not of as great importance as it would be for a lesser or mid-range narcissist. Finally, residual benefits. Again, the fact is that the greater may not have as great a call for those residual benefits from a narcissist that has been ensnared. However, often it's the other way around, in that the unaware narcissist, driven by their narcissism to succeed, to be at the top of their field, to possibly have fame, that they have created a particular facade, that they may well have created a particular sphere of influence or a centralization of power in a different area, that proves attractive to the greater narcissist. The greater narcissist already has access to numerous residual benefits through other people in the fuel matrix, but by harnessing a narcissist, it may well enable them to bolt on fame where they're not necessarily as famous. You could have a situation where you might have an upper greater who's more of an eminence grise, who moves in the corridors of power but isn't internationally famous, hooking up with somebody who is an unaware narcissist but is internationally famous, and therefore that proves to be a residual benefit. It might be that that other narcissist operates a particular facade which is of use for the greater narcissist to bolt on because their facade is different. It might be that that unaware narcissist holds a particular position and has access to different type of power to that which is wielded by the greater, and therefore that proves attractive. It may be that that unaware narcissist has access to differing networks, which proves attractive to that greater narcissist. Accordingly, a greater narcissist may well choose an unaware narcissist because they find it far easier to control them compared to other types of narcissist. And even if they prove to be ungovernable, which they will at some juncture, they can either apply a greater range of manipulative tasks against them to bring them to heel, or they'll just jettison them, and it causes less problems for the greater narcissist than if they were mid-range or lesser. They are able to draw fuel because anyone will provide fuel, but their fuel provision isn't as important because of their ability to draw fuel from other people within that extensive fuel matrix. Character traits may be less important, or the narcissist may be somebody that has plenty of them and different ones to that of the greater. And with regard to residual benefits, there's the likelihood that the unaware narcissist provides certain residual benefits that the greater doesn't have access to. Of course, there are greaters that ensnare empaths. There are greaters that do so. But there are instances where the greater narcissist knowingly and willingly selects an unaware narcissist, usually mid-range, for the purposes of ensnaring them, and there follows narcissistic cementation. Watch the video of that name. So take, for example, Taylor Swift. Why would she choose a narcissist such as Travis Kelce? Well, he has a completely different sphere of influence to her. Her world is pop. His is NFL. And therefore, it allows her to reach into a different universe and extend her reach by tapping into all of his fans, which could then become her fans. She has a different arena from which to draw fuel by turning up to games rather than concerts. She has the ability to draw fuel from him. He's a particularly expressive individual. You witness that. You've seen instances of his heated, ignited fury also. Through her various manipulations, she's able to control him, and of course, she's the bigger fish than he is, and therefore there is an attraction for him as an unaware narcissist to her, because he then has access to even more fame as a consequence of dating one of the most famous pop stars on the planet. Of course, there is greater potential for the two to clash, and as time goes on, we'll undoubtedly see that. But in the first instance, there are legitimate reasons linked to the prime aims as to why Taylor Swift would select him. Thus, the greater narcissist can successfully ensnare an unaware narcissist, lesser, more usually mid-range, and does so because they benefit the prime aims, and they do so in a way that is different to where there is a collision of narcissists of either lesser on lesser, mid-range on mid-range, or lesser on mid-range. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.